Hello there! So this week's video is going to be a bit of a drawing of myself, a self-portrait maybe, and I wanted to draw this because a couple of weeks ago when I posted the speed paint of Newt Scamander from Fantastic Beasts, I got a couple comments from two lovely people. I'll leave their links and their videos in the description, that they wanted to draw me or my persona or an OC that represents me, and I realised that I didn't really have something like that was easily accessible on YouTube, so I thought, yeah, why not draw that? Maybe I'll be able to use it for some branding types of things that I'll talk a bit more about later in the video. Here I was sketching like straight ahead. I just jumped into it, a circle for the head, a circle for the rib cage, a circle for the pelvis, and then draw a pose, do a face, hair, clothes, everything to this drawing, like even draw the feet, which were annoying, do a bit of details for the hands, like full on drawing, and then I didn't like it. I didn't like it, so I started over, and you'll see me starting over here now in a second, but yeah, I didn't like it. It seemed like the kind of pose where I do quite have, I think, a firm stance. Like I think I stand quite confident. Like that sounds arrogant, that sounds terrible, but yeah, like I'm like the whole typical like feet pointing inwards to each other cutesy pose thing, that is quite fun to draw and good for characters. I didn't really think that suited the kind of person I am, so I tried to do something more actiony, something more firm. So I tried to do like one leg up, and then I drew a line of action in the beginning, but then it didn't quite, like, it ended up being too stiff, like too grounded, too strong. I think even I'm not that strong, I'm quite breezy, I think would be a nice way to describe myself. So then I was like, yeah, that's not working, so I did a couple thumbnails for another pose that I could do for this, and I'm getting more into the habit of doing thumbnails for when I do something more painterly. Like if you've seen the drawing I did for Newt Scamander, I started out with thumbnails. If you've seen the drawing that I did, let's see, what was the other one? I think I did thumbnails for the Chrome Thorns painting. I'll leave links to these videos I'm talking about in the cards, by the way, if you want to go watch them, if you haven't already, that is. So yeah, I like doing thumbnails for like more painterly type of things, but I'm not much in the habit of doing them for drawings that I'm going to do with line art. See, if I sketch with a chalk brush, it's a completely different mentality than when I sketch with a regular hard round brush with an opacity a bit down. This is the sort of sketching method that I've been, it's like tried and true. I've been doing this for years. This is like the most organic thing that I've kind of developed, sketching in Photoshop with like opacity down hard round brush. It's quite scribbly, it's quite messy, and then it doesn't matter because I go over it with line art, which I'm starting here. But so when I'm sketching with the chalk brush, it means that I'm going to be painting this. It means that like I need to figure out composition things for maybe a background, because usually I don't do painterly things these days if I don't have a background, because like you need that sort of thing for lighting effects and all that, and that's like one of the best parts of painting. But if I'm doing a line art kind of cel-shaded, more cartoony thing that's supposed to pop out, it's supposed to be really bright, vibrant, it's supposed to be I don't know how to describe it. It's just supposed to be something you might see on Cartoon Network and not think as, oh, this isn't right for here. More graphic design rather than just painterly and artistic and like full of meaning and symbolism and all that. At least that's the way that I view it. I like both things, obviously, but I think about them so differently in my brain. But the thumbnail thing is something that works across the board. Like, you should always consider doing thumbnails to try to plan out an illustration, because it saves so much time. Like, cause that original sketch that I started out with, it's just sat there in the Photoshop file. I mean, I sent it to the group chat I had with some friends, but it's not going to really see the light of day besides this video. If it weren't for this video, like, no one besides two friends would know it existed. And that's a bit like of a waste, I think, for 10 minutes worth of work. It was only 10 minutes of work, fair. The line art, the colouring and all that. In total, this thing took 2 hours, but that's including the sketch that wasted 10 minutes. But think about all the extra little details you could do in 10 minutes that you didn't because you wanted to just jump into it straight away without trying to plan. And some people have this magical wizarding ability to do things without planning, and I'm eternally envious, but that's not quite me. I have to and I thought that was me, but it's not. I don't get things right on the first time. I never did, and I never have, and I think that's another way that I did a huge jump and improvement since recently, in the past couple months, because I started trying to plan more. If one of the acrylic paintings, and I adopted this through acrylic paintings, because doing an acrylic paint, it means a huge time investment. It means it's a time investment, but it's limited time, because the paint on your palette dries and then you have to remix it, and you can never remix the exact same color, so you have to plan things and have things and know things in advance. So I did a lot of thumbnails for 2 or 3 acrylic paintings. I always did a few color compositions with color pencils in my sketchbook to try to see how colors would work out, to know what I'm going to do once I start painting. I can't just throw paint in the canvas, because if I do, I used to try that before, and I hated painting before because I never planned it. Everything ended up looking terrible because it was never planned. But since I started planning my paintings, it's gone a lot better. And since I transferred that to digital artwork and started planning my paintings there as well, even if it's just in the same Photoshop file, if I just do a couple thumbnails and have more an idea of colors, it's easier digitally. It takes a lot more time digitally, but it's more manipulable. That word is so hard to say. Manipulable. Yeah, I'm not going to try that again. You can manipulate it more, is what I mean. So yeah, just plan your paintings out. It works better. It would have saved me 10 minutes on this if I did those little thumbnail sketches of poses 10 minutes before. And also, even if they're poses that don't quite work, it's still drawing experience. There was nothing anatomically wrong. Well, not terribly wrong. There's obviously some mistakes that I can't see, because I did it just 2 nights ago, so it's too fresh in my mind to see mistakes in it. But there wasn't anything terribly wrong with that pose. It just didn't really suit the feeling that I was going for. So it's still a good practice, sort of the gesture drawings I talked about the other week. It's a good practice, and you're just getting better by doing this. So it wasn't useful for the finished product much, but it was useful for me learning, and then maybe I'll use that same stance for someone that I do want to look really strong or something. But yeah, about the whole branding thing, I don't really have much of a consistent branding. I've gone back to retrospectively edit a couple thumbnails that I did for this YouTube channel. If you look back at my channel now, you'll see most of my recent videos have this border that's the same gradient, colors in the gradient that my end screen has around it, and then the same font for the titles, a couple emojis maybe. I'm trying to be a bit more consistent with that to make it look nicer and look like it fits together. And yeah, those color gradients, I call it the sunset gradient. My friend Kid calls it the jewel colored gradient, because you have jewels with these dark colors that work really nice. Yeah, but I'm just working towards a gradient, and then I think that this sort of icon, it's quite simply simple lines, simple coloring, simple shading, might be useful. So at the end of this video, in the end card actually includes this finished illustration, and that might be permanent for the foreseeable future. Just let me know what you think. If you think this is a good sort of persona icon thing, if you think it fits my channel, if you think it's better with it, or maybe you would prefer it without this type of icon thing on it. If you preferred it simple, more graphic, just the name in my social media or something, or if you like having a face to imagine to this interesting voice of mine or something. Yeah, just let me know your thoughts. If you think that having this sort of icon is good for branding, if it's interesting to see, or if you just rather it not. If you like the drawing, if you want to see me try to draw more things in this sort of style, yeah, let me know all these things. I've gotten a couple new subscribers recently, so welcome to my channel. Thanks for subscribing. Hope you were enjoying my videos. Comment to let me know. I read and reply to all my comments. And yeah, this is about it. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.